Hi everyone, it's Gary here with your latest video here on the 4th Officials YouTube channel here on Sunday 29th of December 2024, and it is following yet another away day performance from Rangers with a lot to be desired. A 2-2 draw at Fir Park. Motherwell coming from two behind with two goals from Hamza Igamane in the second half, rescuing a point for beleaguered manager Philippe Clement, and the team is now 14 points off the pace at the top of the Scottish Premiership and only 1 point in six over the festive period, following on, of course, from the defeat in Paisley just a few days ago. The manager made seven changes from the starting lineup in Paisley for today's game at Motherwell, and I think it's fair to say that everyone, when they saw that starting lineup with Cyril Dessers and Kieran Dowell in the starting 11, with Yanis Hadji dropping out, Václav Cherny and Hamza Igamane dropping down to the substitutes bench for sports science reasons, manager stating in the pre-match comments that he'd been advised by his staff that both Cherny and Igamane needed a little bit of a rest, having played a lot of minutes recently. Yefty also dropped to the substitutes bench with Ridvan Yilmaz getting a start, and it meant Rangers lineup looked very fragmented in that first half period. Oscar Cortez getting his first start since September, and I can't be the only one that was quite surprised at Cortez coming in from the cold. Having been on the bench for the last three games, he looked very, very rusty, hasn't played any minutes, of course, for a few months, and we looked very fragmented in forward areas. And what was difficult conditions at Motherwell, but they certainly played the conditions a lot better and took advantage of some really, really poor Rangers defending in that first half period, and to take a 2-0 lead. Both goals with a lot to be desired from a Rangers defensive standpoint. The first one from Stamatopoulos, following a ball over the top from Mashan Wiza. Robin Proper failing really to deal with a long ball. His header against Stamatopoulos wasn't awarded by VAR as a handball. Then the ball was over the top, caught Dujon Sterling and Robin Proper napping, and Stamatopoulos was there to poke it under Jack Butland. So I think if he looks back on it, could have done a little bit better for it as well. It gave Motherwell a lead, something to hold on to, and Rangers' inquest at that point really started in the defence. And not long later, it was 2-0, and this one wasn't much better from a defensive standpoint. Dujon Sterling with a header doesn't do terribly well. It falls to Masanwiza at the back post, who, to be fair to him, takes a really good touch to get inside James Tavernier all too easily, and then a curled finish leaves Butland with no chance. Tav, really, really poor here. Doesn't deal with the skill from the Motherwell forward, who has looked a bit of a find, released from Leicester's academy in the summer, and he's done pretty well for Motherwell this season. Does well, really good skill to beat Tavernier, and it's a really tidy finish. And at 2-0, you're starting to kind of fear the worst. Rangers really toothless in attack, really, really struggling to get much going forward. Danilo with a header from not far out really fails to get anything on it really, and it goes harmlessly wide. A good cross from Ridvan Yilmaz, sclaffed by Cyril Dessers, and what was really his only positive contribution really to a first half performance, and it led to him and Kieran Dowell, who was anonymous, playing out of position out on the right hand side, being hooked at half time as the manager called for reinforcements, and Václav Cherny and Hamza Igamane coming on off the bench, and they obviously made a huge difference to Rangers' second half in terms of giving us much more dynamism in attack, and the two goals from Hamza Igamane obviously rescuing a point for Philippe Clement. But we had VAR to thank us for that, with two Tony Watt goals ruled out in the second half. One for an offside, which I think was fair enough. Dan Casey just a wee bit ahead of the game. His header coming off at the crossbar with Jack Butland really, really poor, not dealing with it. Tony Watt stabbed at home but was ruled offside. But the other one that will be a bit contentious and led to Motherwell manager Stuart Kettlewell being red carded by Kevin Clancy was a foul that was awarded on Jack Butland by Tony Watt. But harsh, I think, and this one Butland really, really weak. But Clancy awarding the foul and VR not overturning it as a clear and obvious error. But once again, Rangers really, really poor on the road. Only 3 wins out of 9 domestically in the league this season, leading to 11 points. Really, really struggling to get anything going up front, struggling to keep goals out at the back as well. Really missing John Suter at the back, and his injury alongside obviously Leon Balogun, who was unavailable today, meant that Robin Propper lined up alongside Dujon Sterling, and neither really looked terribly comfortable the whole day, whether it was up against Stamatopoulos, whether it was against Mashan Wiza, whether it was against Tony Watt when they came on. All of them looked as if they had the running and the beating of the Rangers defence. And with Celtic looming on Thursday, they had another 4-0 win today. That's 2 4-0s on the trot for them at home over this festive period. And the writing very much looks on the wall for Philippe Clement, because yet another uh, failure to get a result in the Old Firm game when that comes round on Thursday. Surely it has got to be the end for this manager who is clinging on by his fingernails. And I think it's a big call that I think Fraser Thornton and Patrick Stewart need to make, because under Philippe Clement, this side is going nowhere domestically. While some performances have improved to a point, and particularly in Europe, the draw against Tottenham, the win in Nice has bought them a little bit of time, but you can't lose to St Mirren, you can't drop points at Motherwell, you can't drop points at home to Dundee United, you can't lose at Aberdeen, lose at Kilmarnock, and with Hibs, who are starting to find a little bit of form, the next away game after the Celtic game, no one's going into that game at the moment thinking that this Rangers side is going to do well in that one. And given where Hibs were just 2 3 weeks ago, that in itself is laughable that we're worrying about a game at Easter Road. But this Rangers side doesn't give you any sort of belief that they can handle domestic games on the road in Scotland. The manager hasn't found a way to get his best 11 players on the park all the time, and constant tinkering, constantly having to go to his bench at half time, make 1 or 2 changes, tells us that A, he's not getting the starting lineup right, he's not been able to get the first half performances correct, and he's not been able to manage anything in terms of starting a game well, put a game to bed, and then you can go and make changes. Every game away from home this year, with the exception of Ross County, has been a slog, or it's been points dropped, and better Rangers managers have lost their job quicker than what Philippe Clement has managed. You think of Michael Beale and Gio that were filleted after 7 and 8 points deficit. We could be looking at a 17-point deficit if we lose to Celtic on Thursday in the Old Firm game. And surely that will be the final nail in a coffin of a manager who's looked like dead man walking for a number of weeks now. And it's just now a case of when rather than if the axe will fall on Philippe Clement. Big thank you to you all for watching. Obviously, loads of coverage of the Old Firm game to come here on the Fourth Official, both here on YouTube and over on our Patreon channel. And you can join us over on there for all our coverage going into the new year. Get all of our podcasts, our match reaction, all our opinions, exclusive interviews, and long form columns, all for less than £3 per month. We would be delighted to have you over there. Big thank you for watching. We'll speak to you next time. Goodbye.